So now for the main event. I know we got a little bit of a late start, but I'm really looking forward to hearing about what's going on in our respective communities. So I want to just begin by introducing Lake Forest City Manager Jason Wicha. Jason has served as Lake Forest City Manager since 2019. Quick story there. That was a year we got a new city manager, a new city attorney, and a new mayor all at the same time. That was fun. Prior to coming to Lake Forest, Jason spent 5 years as the assistant village manager for the village of Skokie and served as village administrator for the village of Thornton, Illinois for 7 years prior to Skokie. He's active with the Lake County Municipal Conference and currently serves on the Finance, Legislative, and Managers Committees with the Northwest Municipal Conference. He's also a member of the Metro Managers Board of Directors. Jason received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Skidmore College and a Master of Public Administration degree from Wayne State University. Village Administrator of Lake Bluff, Drew Irvin. Drew has served as Lake Bluff's Village Administrator since January 1st of 2008, having previously served as Village Manager of Bannockburn and Assistant Village Administrator in Lamont. Drew has degrees from William Jewell College, University of Missouri St. Louis, and a certificate from Harvard's Senior Executive in State and Local Government Programs. Among his many professional involvements, Drew recently has served as Board President of the Illinois City County Management Association Executive Board, served as Executive Board Chair of the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency, and Vice President of Government IT Cooperative. Drew currently serves on the Solid Waste Agency of Lake County Executive Committee, as Secretary of the North Suburban Benefit Cooperative, as Chair of the Glenview Joint Public Safety Dispatch Emergency Telephone System Board, and as Secretary of the Lake Forest, Lake Bluff Rotary Club's Executive Board. We're grateful to have both Jason and Drew here, and also they do serve as ad hoc members of our Board of Directors at the Chamber. So please join me in welcoming them to our official State of the Towns presentation.
All right, thank you, Mike. And before we begin, I'd ask if everyone would just acknowledge Joanna and her team for putting this whole thing together. Thank you very much. And also, thank you to all of you for being here today. Our business communities really are the lifeblood of our communities, and so we're so appreciative of all that you do to make our respective communities vibrant. It's really a pleasure every single year to be able to come and share a little bit about what's happening in our respective towns so that you can remain well informed of what's happening in our communities, but in turn so that you can continue to be the cheerleaders and ambassadors for our towns that we know you are. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Drew to highlight real quickly the topics we'll be covering, and then we'll dive in.
And thank you, Jason. And unlike the Citadel Theater, we are going to name and blame. So a little different, that's how we roll. But we're going to cover a lot of topics pretty quickly. So buckle up and we'll cover finances and the planning efforts that have been going on in both communities, talk about some very important capital projects, and then upcoming activities.
And for those who've been here before, we almost always start with finances, really because it's the foundation for everything that happens within our organizations and our communities. I'm pleased to say, as I do most years, that the financial situation in the city of Lake Forest remains incredibly strong. In fact, just last month, as part of the process of issuing bonds in anticipation of our new police station project, which we'll be talking about a little later, Moody's affirmed our AAA bond rating. And importantly, as part of their analysis, I'd like to highlight the fruits of our labor, so to speak, in the City Council's efforts to proactively address our pension funding strategy. In Moody's report, they noted that over the last 5 years, the City of Lake Forest has reduced its unfunded pension liability by about $50 million. And in fact, we now compare favorably to median AAA-rated communities outside the state of Illinois, which is pretty remarkable if you're familiar with benefit levels established by the state here in Illinois and how they compare to other states. And so we're very proud of that. I think it's a testament to our city council's commitment to proactively addressing long-term liabilities in addition to providing exceptional services on a day-to-day basis. And I'll note a second component of addressing those long-term liabilities continues to be our investment in infrastructure. We'll talk a lot more about infrastructure later in the presentation, but I do want to highlight and give credit to our city staff who've really done a tremendous job over the last few years of identifying grants to bring in outside resources, stretch our dollars further, and allow us to get more capital projects done. As you can see on the slide, over the last 6 years, we've obtained about $22 million in outside funding. That's really critical for us because our capital funding strategies rely on a lot of financing on a cash basis. We issue debt very rarely and only for very large projects. And we're also a community that is more reliant on property taxes. We don't have the sales tax base of some other communities. I'm envious of my esteemed neighbor to the north and all his car dealerships and Targets, but we do a very good job of continuing to fund capital improvements and doing that while maintaining the lowest property tax rate in Lake County. And then finally, I'll just note in terms of reporting and transparency, we take a lot of pride in the job that our finance team does in making sure that financial information is not only available to the public, but is easy to understand and digestible. And so for the last 3-4 years now, we've received the Government Finance Officers Association Triple Crown Award. And again, for context, out of about 90,000 units of local government in the United States, only 354 have received that designation. So we're very proud of that, and I think is a testament to the job our team does in making all this information available.
So let's talk about car dealerships. Sort of. I'll get to that. But on the emphasis of saving time, I'll say same on a lot of things. Lake Bluff, we're nationally recognized by the way we handle our finances and how we communicate our finances by the Government Finance Officers Association. We also have a AAA rating, very proud of that. All that is testament to village leadership's long-term commitment to doing the right things, following our policies, ensuring that our practices keep us in a sound, stable financial position, which is exactly what the village's strategic plan calls for. I'll talk more about a strategic plan, but it's about stability and viability. Just like Lake Forest, most communities aspire to get funding from others. Sales tax is a great way to do it. Let others, thank you Lake Forest for buying your cars in Lake Bluff, and that helps carry our burden, reduce our load. We are not driven really by property tax. Sales tax is picking up a lot of the load for us, and that's about revenue diversification, which is one of the tactics we take to reduce the load of our residents. I tend to show this slide every year. It's really amazing in that sales tax continues each year. The subsequent year is a new apex for us. It's really unheard of. We keep kind of scratching our heads. It's amazing that we keep having this growth, but it's really allowed us to fund a lot of these pretty, I'll say, amazing capital projects, along with help from others. Most of these capital projects I'm going to talk about today, and they're very significant. One of them, in fact, is the biggest capital venture the village has ever taken on. There's an immense amount of state investment as well in Lake Bluff. But the sales tax, again, is amazing, and there's more good news where this is coming from. We're getting another supercar dealership coming to Lake Bluff, Pagini. You probably have 2 of them in your garage. They start at $2.5 million. So really excited about that. Lake Forest Sports Cars is bringing that very soon.
Great. Pivoting to planning, both of our communities take long-term planning very seriously. It's a hallmark of Lake Forest city government. I'm going to move through these pretty quickly, but we have a couple of efforts that are either underway or continue. This slide references our strategic plan, which was adopted by the City Council last year, very community-driven in its development. Without walking through the specific priorities, the city's strategic plan, it really establishes a vision and goals and priorities for the community that drive all of our decision-making, whether it be policy implementation, resource allocation, everything ties back to the strategic plan. And so if you note the little icons next to each priority area, For those who are having trouble sleeping at night, if you ever look at the city's budget and or if you're reading our agenda packets, we really do, I think, a tremendous job of tying everything we're doing back to these priority areas. And so the document itself is really impressive, but it's not just something that was approved and then collects dust. We really do create a strong correlation between this document and what the city council and city leadership is doing on a monthly and an annual basis. Next, we are in the final stages of updating our comprehensive plan. For those that are unfamiliar, the comprehensive plan really is intended to guide all land use decisions within the city of Lake Forest. Land use, I always say, really is the center of the universe in Lake Forest. Unlike the strategic plan, which is updated every 5 years, our comprehensive plan is really updated about every 20 years or so. So there is a significance and an importance to getting this right. Like most of our processes, it is very community driven. We have a resident advisory group assisting in that process. And in the last chapter, we're really looking at land use development patterns at a high level. There are not a lot of available parcels for development, but there are a few potential opportunities out there. Certainly there may be more opportunities for strategic redevelopment within our business districts, both in the central business district and on the west side in Settlers Square. And it's really critical for us as a community to be very thoughtful and deliberate in how we contemplate development and land use. Lake Forest is not a museum, but we also value and put tremendous emphasis on maintaining the character of our community. Is what makes Lake Forest one of the more unique communities in the United States. And so how we balance those two is really critical, and a lot of those priorities will be fleshed out in the approval of the ultimate update to the comprehensive plan, and that will help guide decisions for the next 20 years. And then last, hopefully all of you are aware of this, but the city has been undertaking an analysis in revisiting parking within our central business district. This is something that has come up over the last 4 or 5 years. It's a great problem for us to have, but it is a problem that has come from seeing some revitalization and vibrancy within our business districts. Mostly a good thing, but it has led to some challenges within the business district. I've probably told this story before, but when I first started in 2019, I would leave City Hall after work, and my car was maybe one of 3 cars left in the parking lot just outside City Hall.
That's what he tells his bosses.
It was about 8 o'clock at night, I think most nights, yeah. But really, when you leave now, the parking lot is still slammed, and that's both from patrons visiting businesses, but also from employees. As we've seen an increase in restaurants, they bring a lot more employees than a retail store, and navigating some of those challenges has been a task that we've been working on over the last few months. The goals, as you can see from the slide, are threefold. One, to simplify our parking zones. Our current regulations are a total hodgepodge across the different surface lots and streets throughout the business district. Simplifying those and streamlining that is something we're looking to accomplish. And then, as I said, also trying to ensure that we are creating the most convenient parking access for customers. That's really important to us. And so as part of this process, we are looking to create dedicated employee parking zones that are on the perimeter of the business district, which will free up spaces for customers better. From my perspective, hopefully you agree that your employees walk a block or two rather than asking your customers to walk a block or two. But more to come on that in the next couple of weeks. And then obviously as we contemplate changes to our regulations, it only works if there is meaningful enforcement behind it. And I would be the first to acknowledge that over the last, well, really since the kind of the onset of COVID, the city's been pretty lax in its enforcement. As we develop new regulations and those take effect, we will be stepping up enforcement to ensure that there is compliance with the new regulations. We expect at this point that the council will have discussion on this in February in anticipation of new regulations taking effect May 1, but there will be a lot of communication and outreach to our business community and to the public in between now and then.
Planning. So Jason talked about the value of strategic planning. You guys have done that before, I know, in your own careers and professions. Lake Bluff I say our strategic plan is slightly different in that it was completely a resident-driven document. There's not a staff, it's not a staff-driven document. It's not a village board-driven document. It was a resident-driven blueprint for our community. And it goes back to 2017, and it has served the village so well that 2 years ago, the village board looked at it, went through it top to bottom, and said, you know, this thing is still evergreen. It's a very durable plan. It has a lot of value. We're going to hold on to this for another few years. And so it's now the 2026 plan, which means at the end of this year, the village board's going to have to sit down and decide where to next, and do they want to go in such the same process, such a resident-driven vision. There's a lot of value in that, and that it's really easy to tell your neighbors, hey, we're doing what you told us to do, right? It's a really easy way to drive the boat. Next slide, please. So part of the plan calls for insightful governance and bolstering economic activity. So how is the village doing that? Well, a big part of that, more planning. Lake Bluff has had so much success. The downtown in Lake Bluff, you know, it's blossomed incredibly. That goes back to a 1998 plan. The village just spent 2 years updating its comprehensive land use plan. We hired Tesca & Associates and Opticos, foremost experts in missing middle housing. This land use plan was all about housing. And there's some beautiful imagery in this new plan. If you have not seen it, go to our website, and it has some very bold ideas. This image here is of the Waukegan Road corridor between 176 and our neighborhood to the west of us. I think it's Knollwood, is that what you call it in Lake Forest? But there's big ideas for residential product here in the next 20 to 30 years. And the village is looking there. Next slide, please. We're looking really in our central business district in the multifamily area around it. While it's only the size of a postage stamp, it's a very important area to the village to grow and add different typologies. What does that mean? So different housing stock that's not there that residents and the market wants. That's a multifamily product. The Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals went through this large comprehensive land use plan, identified their priorities, and they're at work already. Most of these I highlighted here deal with this area in the direct vicinity, north side of our central business district and within it, and how to match up the village's vision for the central business district. There are some blocks that have not been redeveloped yet, namely Block 2 and the multifamily area, and get our vision and our regulatory environment in alignment, and that's when things can happen. So they're doing that work now. We hired Tesca again to come back and do some modeling. Our downtown does not look like this now, but this is like a 20, 30-year vision of what we could do in terms of adding more multifamily. So row houses, cottages, two-family flats in and around the CBD sprinkled in there to add diversity of housing so that people can have housing product that fits their lifestyle, whether in the first quarter or the fourth quarter of their lives. It's really exciting. We're having this modeling going on. It started at the last meeting in December, and it's going to pick up again on Wednesday night. So pay attention to that. It's a very important conversation. Some of this can be intimidating. You look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, that's not the Lake Bluff I know and love. But I will tell you, these things happen very slowly. This planning effort will take at least a year to get through and get it right. Lake Bluff is very much about getting it right. Go to the next. So case in point, Block 3. Took a long time to get here, but now there's buildings. There's a condo building, 8-unit coming out of the ground. I think 5 of the 8 units are already spoken for. There's another project that's been approved on the east side of that, another 4-unit building. This focus is Block 2 now, like I was describing. So what can happen there? That's the next one that's ripe for redevelopment. I think they're going to be looking for certificates of occupancy as early as September for Block 3.
Okay, capital improvements. Really over the last 3-4 years, it has been a transformative era for Lake Forest in terms of capital investment. This room, I think, may be aware we had a little project going on in the Central Business District last year. I'm thrilled to be able to stand in front of you with it behind us now. Going back to this current fiscal year, I should say, we have about a $46 million capital improvement budget. As we look forward to the upcoming year, it's about another $28 million. And I want to thank everyone in advance for your patience over the past few years and for what's to come in the future. We know construction projects are disruptive when we're all living through them, but once we get through them, they really are critical to enhancing the quality of life within our communities and, of course, reducing future financial burdens for future city councils and taxpayers. So as we look at projects that have been completed over the last year, Deer Path Streetscape, really thrilled with the final product of that project. We're excited to see how we can pilot, particularly closing Bank Lane for community events in the upcoming year. In addition, I won't run through all of the projects, but I will note at the bottom the playground replacement at Forest Park Beach, only because that final product was very community driven. We had multiple surveys seeking input in the design process from the public and had over 600 residents participate in that process. So what you see in the final product really was the culmination of feedback we heard from the community shaping that final design. As we look at projects that are underway just down the road from us, and I had mentioned this earlier, we are in the midst of constructing our new police headquarters that will serve this community for the next half century plus. Really, this was a unique opportunity and a really exciting project for us, taking advantage of the short-term downturn in the commercial real estate market here. When all is said and done, the city will have been able to complete this project for probably just under $30 million. By contrast, communities that are looking at new construction for police stations rather than adaptive reuse that we know are doing that right now are more in the $50+ million range. So this was a critical need for us. Our current facility is woefully inadequate to meet modern policing needs, and to be able to get it done for comparatively about 60 cents on the dollar is just a huge home run for us. And so we're really excited to see that come to completion. We expect the police department to move into the new facility probably August or September of this year. And then on the other side of town, on the east side of town, just this week, the bridge started coming down on Lake Road at Lake and Woodbine. For those who are familiar, this was an architecturally significant and historic bridge for us, but it had begun to experience significant structural issues. It was almost 90 years old. I had referenced grant funding earlier on, a testament to our staff. Replacement of this project, of the bridge, is about a $5 million project. 75% of that is being funded with outside grant revenue, which has allowed us to replicate the historic design. So by the time it's done, it will look the same as it did, but we know it will last for another 90 to 100 years. So this one will be, again, a bit disruptive, but we'll be excited when it's completed. As I said, or as I noted on the slide, should be done around September. In addition, really in the interest of minimizing impact to the neighborhood, we're also going to be replacing the bridge at Lake and Spruce a little further north. This one was also due for replacement. From a structural, safety perspective, probably had a few more years left in it, but it was really important to the council and the community not to have two very disruptive projects within about a 3-year period, so we're doing them both at the same time. It should finish around the same time as the Lake Woodbine project. And then the last one I'll note, beginning in March, is a significant improvement to the intersection at Wesley and Waukegan. For those who know that intersection, it's both dangerous and at times confusing and very frustrating if you're trying to make turns depending on which direction you're headed. The project, when it's completed, will add dedicated turn lanes in almost every direction. I believe we're opening the bids for the project as we speak right now, so please send positive thoughts our way, but assuming no hiccups in that process, we anticipate this project beginning in March with a completion date by the end of July, early August. It's important for us to get that done before the athletic season starts over on the West Campus.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier about Illinois investments, the state of Illinois. Illinois Department of Transportation has really stood up for the village, and over the next 5 years, there's going to be in excess of $100 million of investment. Sheridan Road, you guys lived through that over 2025. It's almost done. They have a couple of little landscaping things to finish, but that was a $3 million investment. This is the 41-176. It's kind of been stymied out there, but they're redoing the stormwater pumping station and moving the stormwater out. They have to do all that in advance of the entire rebuild of the intersection. That's going to be finished in 2027. That's about $15.5 million. This is the big one. This is the $93 million rehab of the entire intersection that's going to provide what's really been lacking there forever, and that's dedicated acceleration and deceleration lanes. But generally, the layout, the geometries are going to remain the same. Just a quick one. That won't start till probably 2030, we would expect. This was taken yesterday. That is a real picture of our deep tunnel project. It is unbelievable, the scale of this project. This is the single biggest improvement capital initiative that the village has ever done. This is a $22 million project. It's going to take a few years to build, and there's a dance at the end I'll talk about, but this project has started at the lake in the fall, and it's worked its way west, and it's going to go from the viaduct in downtown Lake Bluff up Sheridan and east down North, but actually you build it in reverse. And so we started at the lake, and we've been working backwards. We're up to Maple now, but this is a very large 6-foot internal diameter pipe that's moving stormwater across town. It's going to pick up and help improve a lot of stormwater throughout the entire village. We're going to be able to tag straws into it from all over and move stormwater out and improve our stormwater situation, which is an important issue for the village. This first phase, talked about funded by others, predominantly the Stormwater Management Commission is picking up the bill for this first leg. The second leg, which will be from Moffett to Sheridan Road, the village will pick up that, and the last leg will be picked up by the state. The timing of those last two phases is to be determined. We have to work through the state to nail that down, because when we land at the viaduct, there's going to be a 60-day shutdown of the viaduct. Can't happen unless it's in the summertime. So we're trying to coordinate that dance and make sure we get there right on time. But this is an impressive project, and you may be tempted to go out and look at it. Please don't. The neighbors have been great. We've been putting up with a lot, but it's a very intense project in a very small, tight neighborhood with very narrow streets. This is the other big one. This starts in April. Green Bay Road, I've talked about it for the last few years. You know, everything has led to this, and it's all happening. So we are doing the first leg of this from 176 south to West Witchwood. That's the first leg. That'll go from April to the end of November this year. Then we'll turn around. There'll be a small break and start as soon as the contractor can start in 2027 from February to right before school starts, and that's the goal, to get the bridge rebuilt. So while the bridge is being rebuilt, that road's going to be closed. And so this year, there's going to be a lot of local traffic only signs in place and detours through Deer Path. Thanks for getting it done. But that's the plan. But this is the big one, and this is a 24-month project. But again, this is also 80-20, 80% federal funding, 20% village. This is a big one. This is the final leg of the streetscape in downtown Lake Bluff. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback about our downtown program that we built. Gives, Lake Bluff, I can give you the blueprint for closing the street, by the way. We have all kinds of festivals. Everybody knows this. We're actually changing the geometry of the street to create a curbless road so people can just wander back and forth through to the village green. So it's an interesting concept for us, but it's, again, the residents asked for it. It makes sense for how we use the street. We're going to expand the sidewalk. We're not going to lose any parking. And here's the other bit of good news. This is a soup to nuts 60 days. All the businesses stay open, the roads stay open. How about that? And now, all this is being done because Lake Bluff, we're really pro-environmental, getting awards that we didn't even know existed. We are now a certified wildlife habitat community. I think that means we're introducing new predators. I don't know.
Is that a bear?
I think it is. Tree City USA also recently named a Bird City, Illinois. All these capital projects I'm talking about, the downtown streetscape, it's going to have native landscaping that we've already planted in the rest of the downtown. People love it. That huge storm sewer project we're doing right now, there is a part of that that is a huge concrete vessel, if you will, that we will use to trap sediment and oils and so forth, so when the water does reach Lake Michigan, it's cleaner. So that's one of the things we're doing. We integrate all that into our projects.
Okay, well, I know Joanna had referenced America's 250th Independence Celebration. This is a big milestone for the country and something we're really excited to celebrate within our community as a community. Again, these don't come around very often. out of curiosity, show of hand, anyone in the room, were they around for the bicentennial celebration?
Don't raise your hand.
Drew and I will probably be at the Lake Forest Cemetery for the tercentennial celebration, so we're going to make the most of this one.
Me sooner if those
yeah.
projects don't work out.
Fair. But in all seriousness, event details are a bit to be determined, but we are looking at expanding the celebrations surrounding July 4th. We have the good fortune of it falling on a Saturday this year. So in addition to our traditional fireworks and festival at Deer Path Park, which will occur, but in an enhanced capacity, we will be looking at other events and the days surrounding July 4th itself. And importantly, we're not in it alone. Lake Forest is blessed to have so many wonderful community and civic institutions that contribute to the quality of life in our community. I'm not going to list all of them here, but I can say we are working with a lot of these community partners to join us in the celebration. So more details to come in the months ahead, and we look forward to participating with all of you as well.
And I know I typically get up here and talk about all the wonderful special events that are going to happen. Like, I'm not going to bore you with that, but they're all happening, and there's more. I think we had over 50 last summer. Similarly, Lake Bluff is doing the 250th, where we do it Lake Bluff style. That's how we do it. And that means, I think, it's a nod to the village, its heritage as a camp meeting community, and there's going to be a period of time leading up to the 4th where there'll be camp meeting educational type lectures occurring in the downtown. There'll be I think we have 26 different groups working with us to celebrate this, to include the U.S. Naval Band. So it's going to be remarkable, and I think Lake Bluff, 1976, the bicentennial, that's what brought the gazebo out. That's what got that built. So it's very special in our community, and Center Avenue used to be called Centennial Avenue, which, and Kathy, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I think that's when the first century celebration of America, the governor of Illinois came to Lake Bluff to celebrate. Is that right? Yep. So we're not going to change the name back, but nonetheless. Lake Bluff, sense of community, that's what we're all about. That is, I've said this before, small is the new big. Lake Bluff, we do a phenomenal job of just saying yes. And that's, a lot of towns don't like to do that, but we say yes to all the special events. Some of them are a little off, different, but that happens. We have this wonderful grassroots push to celebrate in the community, and we try to say yes, and there's just more of that to come. So I think that's it.
I think that's the quickest we've ever gotten through this.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Any cards? Raise your hands. Sue's picking them up there. It was addressed to Lake Forest, but I think it relates to Lake Bluff as well. And that is, there used to be a section, and Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Market Square. So it was between middle of Deer Path to the middle of Westminster, and then Western Avenue to Forest Avenue, correct? And it was supposed to be devoted to retail tax businesses, which of course has changed a lot. So now there are a lot of service businesses, and at any rate, so there isn't the same orientation, and there is, and this person was asking about what's happening on Bank Lane, where there are a couple of businesses that are being asked to vacate, what is it, the 580 building, I think. But at any rate, because there's a dentist going in or something of this nature. At any rate, so the question that was posed to me to share with you was, what are the protectors in both towns? What kinds of ways can the towns actually be able to keep some sales tax revenue coming? And I know we're talking auto dealerships, and that's like whoosh. But at the same time, when it comes to keeping the downtowns alive and keeping those vacancies to such a limit that we didn't even have a place to put the pop-up shop this year. So that was to be addressed for both of you.
Who asked the question? Was that? Did we say who? No, it's fine. It's fine. Listen, I was going to thank them because we were talking about this before we came today. I love that this question was asked. We were talking about today because some of the things I say, if I say this, I ask a question of my staff. If I say this, am I okay? Is this facts? There are no retail vacancies in Lake Bluff. 0. And I think that's a first. But that, there's ebb and flow, and we're waiting for Jersey Mike's to open. And why won't they open? But it's going to happen out there. But there's no vacancies, and so I think some of the answer to that is a healthy downtown has a variety of businesses, right? Because that's how a community flourishes. You need the dry cleaners, you need the post office, you need, it's a variety that works, that brings a community together and fills their needs. I mean, we don't have, for the longest time, people would say, oh, you need a hardware store in your downtown. Really? Those don't exist anymore. Small mom and pop hardware stores really rarely do. You might have the best closest thing to it, right, off Waukegan Road, but most of it's the big box and stuff. But I think a successful downtown is going to have a variety and the village can, through the zoning process, and the city can as well, when they entitle properties, that's when you can put conditions on things and development agreements and have controls like that through that development process. And you can do it through the zoning itself and try to control that. But I think a lot of communities are kind of like opening up their doors, and a related concept is parking, right? The parking are coming with businesses. There's lots of deregulation coming from the state, from the top down, on cutting loose of parking requirements to not force people to have the same parking requirements, and that really drives, can kill deals. But I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Sure. Well, I think the question was addressed to Lake Forest. Drew jumped
I just
in
wanted
and
to
stole
brag
my
on the
answer. Yeah, exactly. But truly, I would, for the most part, echo Drew's comments that I think a healthy and vibrant business district has to have a mix of uses. In Lake Forest's case, I know we continue to evaluate the changing brick and mortar landscape, and so what may have made sense to us 20, 30 years ago may not make sense into the future. And so as we're, whether it's through our comprehensive planning process or otherwise, looking at trying to provide guidelines, but also ensuring some flexibility, because none of us have a crystal ball. Yes, it's aspirationally, it's important to have goals in terms of what kind of mixes you want to see within your business districts, but you also don't want to be too restrictive to the point you end up having unneeded vacancies. And of course, the private marketplace plays a big role in all of this as well. So more to come on that, I would say, over the next year for us.
And I can tell you that having spoken to so many people who are in my role in other communities looking at vacancies all over town, what we do well. And the fact that we didn't have a vacant store to be able to do the pop-up with the city of Lake Forest this year was amazing. That these businesses have people already interested in them or something else going on, but at any rate. So congratulations to both towns for that from the standpoint of, the way it is, There's only one other question that I will throw at Drew, and that is, anything happening at Stonebridge?
Maybe. No, I think this year we could see some action there, and I think it's not a surprise. You look at the market and the timing. I think usually Jason and I have some sort of real estate slide. We talk about that, but what are we going to talk about? Nothing's for sale, right? It's kind of slow. So I think there's some pent up demand, and if you look at the way those condos are moving, but I think there's a very good chance that it'll be back this year.
That's wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how wonderful it's been to be with all of you and share this time today and to be able to hear from our municipalities and be in the same room with people who can give us answers. So at any rate, wishing you all a wonderful 2026. Please fill out that yellow card for us or shoot us an email. That list of the board of directors has staff emails on it too. So please let us know how we can be helpful to you. Wishing you all a wonderful year, and we'll see you in July when we have our breakfast with the mayors. So we will get a half year report. So we'll find out how everything's going at that time. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you all.